very, very much. Thank you for coming on the show. This surely is a step in the right direction and hopefully an end to the utter madness of men, presumably some of them even sex offenders, being put in women's prisons.
Well, it's definitely a step in the right direction, but unfortunately it's not going to see an end to male prisoners being held in the female prison estate. I mean, as a ministerial statement that the current prison policies are not working for women in prison, that they're not keeping women safe, and that more needs to be done, it really is extremely significant and it's important. And of course, this comes after recent news reports of serious incidents in the female estate involving 2 male prisoners, one of whom was serving a sentence for murder and had intact and functioning male genitalia, and one serving a 20-year sentence for multiple serious child sexual offences. So this is important and it is definitely a step in the right direction. But if you look at the statement, it's limited to prisoners with intact male genitalia and or those convicted of sexual offences. It isn't a blanket rule. It says quite clearly in the statement that exceptions will be considered on a case-by-case basis.
Should the case, should the case just be, does this case include someone with full male genitalia? And if the answer to that is yes, then they shouldn't be there.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, no male prisoner should be there. You know, the fact that somebody no longer has functioning or intact male genitalia doesn't mean that they're safe around women, and doesn't mean that they should be in a single-sex space for women. Ditto the fact that someone isn't serving a current sentence for a sexual offence certainly doesn't make them safe around women. What about violent offenders? You know, we know of male prisoners who've been convicted of serious violent offences against women in prison, against women who are held in the female prison estate. And that, you know, we need to see how will this translate into policy, and then how will that policy be implemented in practice. There are many questions that we still need to ask. You know, what about the violent offenders? What if someone has a history of sexual offending, but their current conviction is for something else? How will this interact with gender recognition certificates? It also, I note, says that they should not be held in the general female population. So will parts of the female population now be siphoned off, and resources which should go towards women in prison will be allocated to house these male prisoners still in the female estate, but separately? There's lots of questions that we just still don't know the answers to.
Do you ever wake up sometimes and just bang your head a bit and think maybe I am living in a clown world now, where some politicians appear to be making decisions without any logical basis whatsoever, based, by the way, can I just say, on almost no vote winners? I think the number of people who would vote for a political party because they allow transgender men to run riot in female prisons, presumably would just be the transgender men who are in female prisons, which is, OK, a concerning amount of people, but not enough to win you an election, right? Do you not think this is just mad?
Well, it is mad, and sometimes, you know, I know all of us who are involved in these sorts of campaigns, sometimes you do wake up in the morning and you think, come on, I must have dreamt all this. This can't honestly be happening. But yes, when you take prisons and you take hospital wards and you take schools and you take the medicalisation of children and you take changing rooms in Primark and toilets and sports, female sports, when you take all of these things, you just think this is insane. And you're right, it's not in and of themselves. These are not vote winners. And
actually, does it play? I'm wondering about this, because if this was me, and it's tragically, because I unfortunately don't necessarily see it ending anytime soon. I hope it does, and I wish it will. I have got a massive, massive concern that if I ever have a daughter growing up, I'm going to have some very, very uncomfortable conversations at school. They won't be uncomfortable for me. They'll be uncomfortable for the teachers who are on the other end of it, don't get me wrong. But I don't see this ending anytime soon. And if something happened to a hypothetical daughter of mine at the hands of someone who was, you know, one of these people, I would be so angry. I think I'd completely lose it. So presumably you, as a woman, must be particularly angry about this as well. And I'm wondering as well, do you ever feel as though whenever people do lose their minds about this and just lose it, as I would, do you get that old trope of, you're just being hysterical? You're just being hysterical. It's actually, no, I'm very, very angry about this because I've got a right to be angry about it. I'm just wondering if you almost can't win.
Well, exactly. I mean, the accusations of overreacting or being shrill or, homophobic, that kind of gets tacked on as well, or fueled by bigotry or right wing. These come all the time. And I think another question you say, about losing it if something happened to your daughter, and God forbid anything like that would ever happen to a child, but we know sadly it does. You keep thinking, what is going to be the thing that's going to kill this? Is it a woman in prison getting sexually assaulted? Well, no, it's not, because that's happened and it didn't stop things. Is it children being medically transitioned? Well, no, because that happened and that didn't stop it. Is it women and girls getting sexually assaulted in what should be single-sex toilets or changing rooms? Well, no, because that happened and that didn't stop it. Is it medal opportunities or, competitive opportunities at a high level, at the elite level, being taken by male athletes over female athletes? Well, no, that didn't stop it, because that's also happened. Is it a woman getting seriously injured in a contact sport with a male athlete? Well, no, because that happened and it didn't stop it. So, you do keep thinking, what is it actually going to take for this to end and for common sense to start ruling again? And I agree with you. I don't think this is ending anytime soon. I think that the arguments against this, which, are based in rationality and evidence and science and logic, those are now being heard. And I think as the general public wakes up to this more, they certainly don't support this. You've only got to read the comments under the line in news articles, whether it's Telegraph, Times, Mail, Sun, Mirror, whatever it is. And most people, the overwhelming majority, think this is insane and they're opposed to it.
They do, but you know what's absolutely amazing? Because you're spot on. The overwhelming majority absolutely do. And if there was a secret ballot on this or a referendum on this, the numbers would be staggering. But unfortunately, and I have found out to my peril, I sometimes go out and vox pop the nation, and there's a bit of canal near some of my studios here, and you just know that people don't think this stuff is right, but you put a camera in their face like, oh yes, I think we should let anyone be anyone else, because they're terrified of essentially the trans mafia who get involved and start a hound. They'll find out where you live, they'll find out where you are online, they'll do all of this stuff, and they'll make your life miserable because essentially you think that men are men and women are women, which is absolutely